Welcome to the Halo Forge epidemic. This is Psychoduck, and today I'd like to show you guys another 1v1 map built in Halo 2 Anniversary. This map is called Tron, and it was designed and forged by a chunk. Tron is a small but very vertical asymmetrical map, which is situated atop a series of floating platforms. Like on any map, Tron is really about controlling the lines of sight through positioning. It's really about movement, and it's really about controlling the pickups. However, the way you're going to do this on Tron is a little bit different from most maps just because of the unique design. So if we look at how the map is laid out, it's actually quite interesting. The lower level is comprised of two large platforms which are connected in several areas. The upper level, though, is made of three taller platforms which are separated much more, and you will need to do jumps to get between these, and therefore moving around the upper level of the map is definitely a bit riskier than moving around the lower levels. And that is intentional because from the upper levels you can gain lots of interesting lines of sight on your opponents. But of course, no one platform up there is going to give you an advantage over every part of the map. So controlling the top, you'll need to move between the different platforms to get different advantageous lines of sight. But you'll also need to drop down on occasion to grab a pickup, or if you're being outgunned, you might want to drop down to the lower levels and come around and flank your opponent. And there are just lots of interesting dynamics like that. The topmost platform on the map is actually where the teleporter receiver comes from. The teleporter sender is down on the lower level. And at first I actually thought that this platform was overpowering. I thought that it could see too much of the map. But I've really learned since then that that's not the case. This platform is very powerful and has some awesome sightlines, but it can be countered from both of the other high platforms, and of course flanked through the teleporter. There are lots of interesting ways to throw grenades on this map. There's lots of skillful throws that players can execute. Landing grenades on these platforms isn't always easy, but it can be very rewarding. There are just lots of reasons to keep moving around the map to just get those different lines of sight, to get those pickups. So that positioning aspect is really important. And you'll be using visual and auditory cues to know where you need to position yourself, because you can hear things like the lift and the man cannon, and you can hear people pick up the power-ups. So knowing the map well enough to understand that when you hear someone pick up the overshield, to understand where they're going to be in a couple of seconds, and to position yourself accordingly, is really where a lot of the skill lies on this map. That positioning is really important, and it's really rewarding when you can do it right. In addition to that positioning aspect, like I talked about, you're going to be moving a lot. And this map really has a lot of what I like to call acrobatic gameplay. In Halo, of course, we know that you can shoot while you're jumping through midair, or while you're moving in general. And when I talk about the acrobatic gameplay, that's what I mean. You're jumping around and you're engaging other players while you're jumping and moving around a lot. And because of the relative lack of hard connections on this map and the number of jumping opportunities, that really happens a lot on this map. There's lots of vertical gameplay and lots of acrobatic gameplay. And of course the scaling also plays into that. The scaling is perfect for the battle rifle, perfect for Halo 2 Anniversary, with 110% movement speed. The map is small, but it's just segmented enough to work, just segmented enough for spawning to be pretty good, etc. So that acrobatic gameplay is really fun, and then that positioning is really important. But then of course we have the power-ups. So one player initially is going to spawn a bit closer to the overshield, and the other player is going to spawn a bit closer to the speed boost. Now both are very important, as you would imagine. The speed boost in particular has some interesting mechanics associated with it. If you watched my BTB design theory video from about a week ago, one of the things I talked about was the idea of balancing infantry and vehicles in this case by perhaps allowing infantry to use a route from two directions, but only allowing vehicles to use a route from one direction through things like jumps and drop-offs. Well, so on this map, there's an interesting analog here, because there's one very important jump from one of the top platforms to another, which is normally a one-way jump, and that kind of directs the flow around the map a bit. But when a player grabs a speed boost, they can suddenly do that jump from either direction, and it really throws a wrench in the normal flow of the map and really lets them get a jump on their opponent and flank around in a surprising or unexpected way. And so that speed boost is really useful for that. Of course, it's just useful in general for moving around faster. The overshield is very useful as well, especially when fighting from those upper platforms. When you get in some of these longer ranged BR fights where there's relatively little cover, that overshield obviously gives you a huge advantage. There is a brute plasma rifle, which is very useful for countering the overshield at closer range. There is a suppressed SMG on the map. And then also very important is the sniper rifle, which is placed at the bottom of the lift. So the top of the lift is of course a very useful position to take the sniper. It's got great sight lines. But players familiar with the map who hear that lift go off and just know the sort of travel times from the sniper to top lift can nade the lift and take you out. But yeah, that sniper is very useful in general along the upper sight lines on the map due to the range and the openness of parts of the map. So all of those pickups are really important, and you know, if you just want to sit up top on the upper levels of the map and ignore the pickups and try to just lock down those lines of sight, I think you're going to have a really hard time because those pickups are so important. So there's a lot going on this map, lots of cool movement opportunities, just really fun acrobatic gameplay. The geometry is very chunky and kind of has really interesting lines of sight associated with it. It's very angular geometry, so it creates interesting movement options, interesting lines of sight. It looks really cool, of course, as well. And this is just a really exciting map. It's scaled perfectly. It's just the perfect scale. The pacing is excellent, and it's just a fantastic map. Really one of my favorites out there right now. And I hope you guys will enjoy it too. It can be difficult to get into. The first time you pick up the map, you're probably going to fall to your death a few times. You know, it's punishing. It's a very punishing map because of that high skill gap with the positioning and with the movement on the map. But it's really rewarding once you start to learn the map and figure that out. And it's just a really exciting map. Lots of depth here. It's just a very unique map, and it just plays excellent. So I hope you guys download it and enjoy playing it. There will be download instructions in the video description. So until next time, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Psychoduck with the Halo Forge Epidemic. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.